There are people like Taylor Lorenz who are desperate to tear the left apart, and in fact, it becomes clear who her efforts help when you hear stuff like this.
Genuinely, I kind of like Taylor Lorenz because I know that she actually believes what she says.
Totally
Do you get what I'm
agree.
saying?
So yeah, I generally don't align myself with friends of Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
I like Taylor Lorenz. I think she's a very prolific journalist. I think she does have a strong left-wing bent, socialist bent, anti-capitalist. And so I respect her a lot, and I think that she's a good journalist for the causes I believe in. That being said, she's a little goofy, and she has pretty consistent gaffes, or these moments where she's like made fun of pretty virally on the internet. There's a picture of her showing the temperature of her house being 90 degrees. Lately, people are calling her a Nazi because she accurately described that the Nazis use like camaraderie and companionship as like a gateway entrance type of thing to bring people into Nazi movements. Young, impressionable, lonely men are pulled into Nazi movements by a sense of community. And that's just objectively true, but people are saying she's a Nazi because of that. I don't believe she's a Nazi. But Taylor Lorenz, she published an article called Dark Money Group Funding Secret Democrat Influencers. And in this article, she talks about how she was given information by people in this, they call it a creator incubator program. I'm not sure I like that terminology, but it's an incubator program for influencers that are supposed to be pro-democratic, and they're paid by Chorus, this organization, a monthly stipend. Some of them aren't paid. Some of them are paid more than others. And then from that point, they also do job training and stuff like that. And something that Taylor says in her video that she does and in the article, I think it's... So she says in this article that there are very, aggressive NDAs and contracts that are, very restrictive of what creators can do. And beyond that, basically her argument is that these people are being paid to toe the party line. A lot of them are people who are not as firm on Gaza. A lot of them are people who defended Biden and his mental capacity long after it was obvious that he was fading. And one of the influencers, Olivia Juliana, was saying the day that Biden left that he was still perfectly capable of doing it. But the second that Biden was gone, she swapped and was saying, no, we have to support Kamala 100%, or Kamala. So she's very disingenuous, and you could tell that her messaging shifts immediately like that. And I think that's because she has direct ties to Democratic politicians and consultants. But that's sort of speculation. What isn't speculation is that she's part of the Chorus program. So is David Pakman, who was sort of a genocide denialist for the first half of the war. I don't know if he says it's a genocide now. And it's owned by Brian Tyler Cohen. He's a co-founder. And he actually responded to Taylor Lorenz in a video. He says a few different things. He says that actually their NDAs are standard. Actually, they don't tell influencers what they can and can't say. And actually, Taylor Lorenz is the person who's hurting the Democrats and is actively on Trump's side by trying to sabotage me. Me being Brian Tyler Cohen. And I was kind of convinced by this argument at first because it seemed pretty cut and dry, this company isn't what you think it is. All the information you got is obviously bullshit. But I do have a few things that sort of stuck out to me. So Brian calls it a standard NDA. And I actually, right after I watched the video of his, I decided to apply to the chorus program. And because he's very insistent, even though what we know about the chorus program is that they were giving money to people who are already popular influencers, he's saying that the intention of it is to grow influencers and grow smaller influencers into bigger influencers. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to apply to chorus and I'm going to sort of see how it goes inside of the program. And I got to the very last part of the application, and there were the first NDA they have you sign is so strange that I didn't finish my application. And so I'm just going to read a couple lines from that. Okay, this first one says, at all times, the recipient agrees to keep absolutely confidential and treat as secret all chorus information. The recipient will neither directly nor indirectly use, cause, or permit the exploitation, examination, copying, or summarizing of any chorus information. The recipient agrees not to use and or disclose chorus information, directly or indirectly, personally, or on behalf of or in association with any other person, organization, business, corporation, or entity without prior written consent from chorus. So right here we already see chorus is influencing what people are saying. If chorus needs to give you written consent before you say anything about chorus and what you're doing in chorus, that is restricting someone's speech on their platform. But so it gets even worse though. Chorus, except for the extent compelled by a court of competent jurisdiction, the recipient will provide chorus with notice of any demand, subpoena, request, or other process seeking to compel the recipient to disclose any confidential information within 2 business days of that request, to allow chorus a reasonable opportunity to protect its rights in connection with such disclosure, unless the recipient's notification of chorus is prohibited by law. So let's look at this. This is the second part of the NDA that I took a picture of. Both parties acknowledge and agree that it is impossible to measure in money the damages that will resort to chorus if the recipient is in breach or in default of any of the obligations or agreements set forth in this agreement. Therefore, if any action or proceeding is brought by chorus or the recipient to enforce any provision of this agreement, the parties shall be entitled to injunctive relief in addition to any other damages or remedies available at law or in equity. The recipient hereby waives any claim or defense that chorus has an adequate remedy at law, or that chorus has not been or is not being irreparably injured. The recipient also agrees chorus shall be entitled to recover its reasonable attorney's fees and expenses in any action, including appeal, arising from or relating to enforcement of any provision in this agreement in which chorus prevails, or on any or all issues presented. So basically what this NDA is saying is that you can't say anything about chorus without written consent, and that if you harm chorus, there's no way to measure the amount of harm that you cause them by critiquing them, which is insane. And then on top of that, it says that you waive any claim or defense that chorus has an adequate remedy at law, or that chorus has not been or is not being irreparably injured. That's saying that you waive your claim to saying that chorus wasn't injured by your criticism, which is ridiculous. That's like outright saying if chorus decides to sue you, it could sue you for however much it wants, and it can sue you for all of its attorney's fees and everything, all of the money that it spent to sue you, you have to pay it, and that you can't claim that chorus wasn't injured by your criticism. You can't claim that it's not a big deal because you agree in this NDA that it is, that there's no way to measure it in money. So I think personally that Brian Tyler Cohen, while saying that his NDAs are typical or normal NDAs, is lying. That's a clear lie. But what we don't know is a lie is because this NDA is just insane. And we imagine if this is how bad this first NDA after the application is, then we can extrapolate and assume that any NDA past that, this entirely hostile, restrictive language that Taylor is talking about is most likely in these contracts. And not only that, they can't discuss what's in their contracts. They can't show their contracts without risk of being sued without any defense from Chorus. And which also means if Brian was lying in the video, they can't call him out on it. And there's no recourse for that unless someone was to risk being sued into oblivion by Chorus. And that explains why all of the people who talked to Taylor Lorenz or everybody that was already in the program did it anonymously, because they've probably signed quite a few things at this point that are basically saying, if you take this to court, we'll fucking bury you. So really, in the end, this argument, this whole debate is between whether or not Taylor Lorenz is a liar or Brian Tyler Cohen is a liar. And I'll put my money on Taylor not being a liar, honestly. Brian Tyler Cohen claims that she was paid the same amount, the $8,000 a month, by the same company that pays Chorus, and Taylor denies that. So either Taylor is being paid by the same people and trying to tear down other creators for being paid for this and is intentionally stirring up the pot, or Brian Tyler Cohen does have aggressively hostile contracts that restrict content. We know from this NDA that that part is true. So that's all I have to say about that.